Hello, biology. Mr. Wegner here with our third section for amphibians and reptiles in our notes. We left off at groups of snakes. That's where we left off for our second part 2 recording. This is our part 2 recording. This is now recording part 3. Groups of snakes. Again, answer 23A. The first group is called blind snakes. They are tiny, harmless snakes about 6 to 7 inches long, often mistaken for earthworms. Here's an example of the desert blind snake, southwestern blind snake. You can see that they're not earthworms because they definitely have scales. The Utah blind snake, again, get an idea of size with that ant on it. They're very small, often mistaken for worms, but they're much, much longer. Constrictors are another group. They are non-venomous snakes that overcome their prey by wrapping around it and squeezing. Contain the 3 largest types of snakes: pythons, anacondas, and boas. Question number 24, pythons, anacondas, and boas. Here is an African rock python. You notice that its stomach is much larger in size. It probably ate something like a small calf or something big. It's digesting it along its body. Here's a Burmese python. And here is a snake that tried to eat a crocodile, but it burst open. So the snake died. Looked like an anaconda or something like that, but you can see the crocodile got in there, and then eventually the snake burst open because it was just too big. Here's another anaconda. Notice right in the middle, it's got a meal that it's just had because it's much, much bigger or thicker in the middle. Probably ate something, not sure what. And notice how long that is. It's probably close to 20 feet, 25 feet. The emerald boa, another constrictor. The sun-glow boa, because of its beautiful colors and sun-glow pattern. Another group of snakes is called colubrids. The most common type of snakes, which are small or moderate sized. If venomous, their fangs are in the rear of the mouth. Not many of them are venomous, but the ones that are have fangs in the rear of the mouth, like the garter snake. Again, not venomous. Hognose snakes. The rat snake, it eats rats. The bull snake, it does not eat bulls, but it has a very bullish attitude. And then the group called the elapids. These are poisonous snakes with immovable fangs. Immovable means they're set, they're locked in. The front upper jaw, most live in Australia. Elapids, most of them live in Australia, like the spitting cobra, the black cobra, the king cobra, and mambas. They can also live in Africa. Kraits, poisonous, and the coral snake. And here's the slogan you remember from the Bill Nye: if red touches yellow, safe for fellow. If red touches black, or no, if red touches yellow, you're a dead fellow. Red touches black, safe for Jack. Something like that. That's how the phrase goes. There it is. Red to yellow, kill a fellow. Red to black, venom black. Or safe for Jack. That's how I remembered it. So the one on the left is actually the coral snake that's poisonous. The one on the right is the milk snake that's not poisonous. And you see it's camouflaged to look like the coral snake. And of course, people then stay away because maybe that's the poisonous one. I'm not sure. I'm just going to leave it alone. Good camouflage where it tricks itself or it tricks other people into thinking it's one of the poisonous ones that you should stay away from. And then vipers. Vipers are poisonous snakes with long, movable fangs that fold into a sheath on the roof of the mouth, usually has thick bodies and flat triangular heads. So in other words, when the mouth opens, the fangs actually pop up and then fold back in, pop up and fold back in. You can see the puff adder. Look at the fangs on the very bottom there. You can see how the fangs kind of come up, and then when its mouth is going to close, the fangs will fold back in. The saw-scaled viper, the Russell's viper, pit vipers. These are a special group of vipers. They have a sensory depression or pit on each side of the head that can literally see warm objects in absolute darkness, kind of like infravision, or heat sensing vision. The cottonmouth is a pit viper. The bushmaster is a pit viper. The fer de lance and the copperhead, as well as the rattlesnake. Rattlesnake only rattles when disturbed. So that's a good question. It will not rattle if it's going to strike a prey, because rattling would warn the prey. The only purpose for rattling for a snake is to say, hey, you better stay away. It's a defense mechanism. It does not rattle right before it strikes every time, because some of the times it strikes, it's going to want to strike its prey. It's not going to rattle and warn them. The rattle only says, I'm disturbed. Only 250 out of the 2,700 species of snakes are poisonous. That's less than 10%. Less than 10% of all those snakes are poisonous. Venomous snakes in Wisconsin. There are a couple of them. Both are in southwestern Wisconsin, the eastern Massasauga and the timber rattler. Those are poisonous snakes in Wisconsin. Remember, just because it's poisonous doesn't always mean it's lethal. It doesn't mean that every time it bites you, it's going to kill you. Some poison is not that strong, and some poison will just get you very, very sick. But some poison definitely will, so you never want to take any risks. Different kinds of snake venom. There's neurotoxin. This is a nerve poison. It affects the nervous system, shuts down the heart, lungs, and muscles. And if the brain can't send impulses to your heart saying beat, your heart stops beating, and then that's not good, and you die, and you stop breathing, and you stop moving. The other one is called a chemotoxin. That's a blood poison. It affects blood vessels and red blood cells, causing the tissue around the toxin to die. So this is one in which tissue around the area will start to die, and it works its way up, and it can also be fatal. Can also be fatal. Antivenin. Notice that it's sometimes called antivenom. Technically, it's venin. Is an antitoxin. They have antibodies that attack the toxin molecules and neutralize their effects. So if you're bitten by a poisonous snake, you need to get the antivenin if possible. And how that's done is they milk snakes. Literally, they milk them out of their venom from their mouth, and then they use the poison that they collect to make anti-poison or antivenin. Victims of venomous snake bites need prompt professional medical attention. Victims should remain quiet and as motionless as possible. The purpose for that, if you're really anxious and excited and your heart's beating super fast, guess what? Whatever poison is in your system gets transmitted throughout your system super fast. But if you can slow your heart rate, be nice and relaxed, the venom then goes through your system slower and buys you more time. So you want to be calm and motionless and ease your heart rate so that the venom does not race through your body quickly. It goes through slowly. If possible, the dead snake should be taken in for identification purposes. So, first of all, if the snake is dead, and only if it's dead, should it be taken in for identification. Because the venom, the antivenin you need for a rattlesnake is different than the antivenin for a copperhead. So to know which snake it is pretty important. If the snake is still alive, do not try to grab it. Do not try to say, oh, I need this snake for identification. You're going to get beat again or more often. You can take photos, though, and the photos might help identify what snake it is. Do not try to suck out the venom. Do not apply a tourniquet, and do not wash out the wound. Do not wash out the wound. 31, A, B, and C. The largest snake in North America is the indigo snake, 9 to 10 feet long. Largest venomous snake is the king cobra at 18.5 feet. And the fastest striking snake is the black mamba. Actually, it's fastest on the ground, 14.29 miles per hour. Snakes also have something called brumation. Snakes do not hibernate. They do not store energy reserves. They have a different sort of metabolism. They will often group together during the winter in Narcissi snake dens, a whole bunch of snakes all sharing their body heat together, just like on Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Let's talk a little bit about turtles. The only reptiles with a shell. The only reptiles with shells, turtles. The upper shell is called the carapace. Lower shell is called the plastron. Carapace, plastron. Turtles are connected to their shell, so you can't simply shake a turtle out. They're actually part of, interwoven, connected to their shell. The inner part of the shell is made of bone and plates, and the outer part is made of keratin, and that's where it has shields. Those are questions 33 and 34. Some can pull their head in, tails and legs in, and close the plastron if the plastron is hinged. Sometimes it's not. Others simply have scales on exposed body parts to help protect them. Turtles are toothless. Their lungs can't expand, so internal organs actually shrink and expand to allow the lungs to expand and contract. They have eardrums, and they have nictitating membranes. Again, their lungs cannot expand because they're stuck inside of a hard shell. So what happens is other organs shrink to allow the lungs to expand. Hibernation. Freshwater turtles burrow into mud in the bottom of streams or ponds. Land turtles bury themselves under vegetation or burrow into soil. Many turtles don't need to breathe during hibernation. Some freshwater turtles can breathe through the cloaca. That's the place where poop comes out. Estivation is summer form of dormancy when there is a hot, dry period. So if it gets really super hot, like a heat wave, turtles can go into estivation, which helps protect them from overheating and dying. The other group, 40A, is freshwater turtles. There are three groups, freshwater turtles. This is the largest family. They can be hard-shelled or soft-shelled. Terrapins are hard-shelled, edible freshwater turtles. And if they're soft-shelled, flat carapace with flexible, leathery skin. We'll show you some pictures of what we mean by that. So here's a painted turtle, hard shell. Alligator snapping turtle, number 42. Can't retract into its shell. The alligator snapping turtle is the largest freshwater turtle. Uses its tongue as a lure to catch prey. In fact, if you look there, its tongue looks kind of like it's bright pink in color. Everything else looks like it's kind of like a rock. So the fish, as you see swimming there, is going to look at that little red thing, his tongue, think it's another fish and go in to try to eat it, and the fish is going to get bitten by the snapping turtle. They have very, very powerful jaws that can snap, and they can even take off fingers, so be very careful with a snapping turtle. Here's an example of the Florida soft-shell turtle. Notice that it still has a shell, but it's a little bit softer, it's more flexible. They have a flat carapace covered by flexible, leathery skin. They can move quickly in water and on land. They can stay submerged for long periods, and they can strike very quickly. The second group of turtles is called sea turtles. They're found in warm waters or warm seas. They live, largest living turtle. They beat flippers up and down. Other turtles paddle. So most turtles go forward motion. A sea turtle simply goes up and down, just like the wings of a plane, just up and down, that's it. They lay eggs on land, and the young have to get out of the sand and get into the water without being eaten. And many of them don't make it. Here's the green turtle. Here's the leatherback turtle. Look how huge it is. And here are sea turtle babies going to the sea. So a whole bunch of them hatch. Their eggs are in the sand. They're buried in the sand. The turtles have to climb out. They have to make it to the ocean. Once they make it to the ocean, they're fairly safe, although it's not guaranteed. And another group, tortoise. Tortoise, land turtles. They have claws, large sturdy limbs. The Galapagos tortoise is the longest living animal. It can live about 150 years, longer than any other animal on the planet. There it is, the Galapagos tortoise. Let's talk a little bit about crocodiles. Crocodilians are the largest living reptiles. They're usually in tropical or subtropical climates. They have webbed, clawed feet, short, strong legs, long, powerful tails, and they have nictitating membranes. Crocodiles, they have valves that keep water out of their nose and ears. They are carnivorous, meaning they eat meat. They replace teeth that they lose. The eyes and nostrils are high. What do we mean by high up? Well, if you're floating in the water, you want your eyes sticking out and your nostrils sticking out, and that's it. That way you can't see hardly anything. That way they can submarine and kind of come in and not be noticed by anybody. So the only thing that sticks out of their water are their eyes and their nostrils. The females care for their young. It's the only other reptiles don't do this. So the only reptiles that care for their young are crocodiles. Very interesting. Otherwise, like the sea turtles, they're on their own. They have to make their own way to the sea. No one's going to care for them. But for the crocodile, the female cares for the shells and the eggs and the babies that hatch. All right, first group of crocodilians is crocodiles. They're found in the Florida Everglades, South America, India, and Africa. They have a narrow snout and protruding teeth. Old world crocodiles are more ferocious. old world crocodiles, like the American crocodile, Nile crocodile, alligators and caimans, that's another group. They have broad triangular snouts and concealed teeth. So here's the rule. If a crocodile is out there, or an animal is out there and you can see its teeth, it's a crocodile. If I cannot see its teeth when its mouth are closed, it's an alligator or a caiman. Alligators live in southern United States and in China. Caimans are found only in Latin America. So here's an example of an American alligator. Again, when it closes its mouth, I cannot see teeth. The Chinese alligator. The speckled caiman, this is a baby or a young one, it's a juvenile. And the last group of crocodiles is called gavels. They're found in southern Asia. They eat fish. And you're not going to mistake these for any other kind of crocodile because they have extremely long, narrow snouts and lots of teeth. Let's see what we mean. There it is. The snout is so unbelievably long and narrow and lots of teeth. That's a gavel. So you're never going to get that confused with an alligator or a crocodile. They're usually also a little bit smaller in size. Last group, tuataras. They are spiny crested reptiles. Tuataras, spiny crested reptiles. They live in New Zealand. Has a crest of spines. Has something called a parietal eye. It literally senses radiation and light. It's right in the middle of their forehead. They are nocturnal. They move around at night. They are insectivores, eating insects. And they only weigh about 2 pounds and only about 2 feet long. They can go for 1 hour without breathing. So they go underwater, they can hold their breath for an hour. Pretty amazing. There's only a couple of species of these. There it is, the tuatara, there it is. And notice it's got the spines on it and the parietal eye. All right, that covers our notes for section part 3. Part 3, your note packet should be completely filled out by now. If it isn't, go back and fill in anything you're missing. Make sure you're using this to study for the test. Take care, God bless. I will see you later.